A very good evening to you, our dear viewer. It is the 26th of March 2026. My name is Patricia Lukoma Mpango, and this is News Tonight. Well, straight away into the bulletin, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, has commended the outgoing Russian ambassador for strengthening strategic military ties. General Kainerugaba has bid farewell to His Excellency Vladlen, the outgoing ambassador of the Russian Federation of Uganda, marking a conclusion of a democratic tenure defined by significant strategic cooperation and mutual respect.
During a farewell call held at the Special Forces Command headquarters in Entebbe, the CDF expressed gratitude for the ambassador's role in advancing the enduring partnership between Uganda and Russia. The CDF noted that the bond between the two nations remains unbreakable, rooted in a shared history and a modern commitment to regional stability. General Kainerugaba highlighted the impact of Russian support on the modernization and professionalization of the Uganda People's Defense Forces. The CDF characterized Russia's military support as a clear reflection of the depth and strength of the bilateral relationship. In response, Ambassador Simvols reflected favorably on his 4-year and 5-month tenure, noting a significant consolidation of ties between the two nations. He further highlighted ongoing work on several frameworks intended to formalize cooperation through Memorandum of Understanding in sectors such as tourism, agriculture and immigration, aimed at further solidifying the strategic partnership. Uganda and Russia are set to conclude a reciprocal visa waiver agreement for diplomatic and official passport holders, which will be integrated into a broader Memorandum of Understanding scheduled for signing in the near future.
Now, Uganda's latest multidimensional poverty index reveals that 27 out of every 100 Ugandans are living in poverty, not just in terms of income, but across essential aspects of daily life, as we hear more in this report.
Thank you.
The Multidimensional Poverty Index Monograph 2024 provides a deeper look into poverty beyond income, capturing the realities of livelihoods, access to services, and overall quality of life. It assesses Uganda's progress towards achieving Sustainable Development Goal 1, ending poverty in all its forms. But what does poverty mean in practical terms, especially in a developing country context?
Poverty is hunger. Poverty is lack of shelter. Poverty is being sick and not being able to see a doctor or nurse. Poverty is not having access to school and not knowing how to read. Poverty is not having a job. It's fear for the future.
The Uganda Bureau of Statistics Multidimensional Poverty Index is designed to generate reliable and comprehensive data to guide government planning, policy formulation, and targeted interventions aimed at improving livelihoods.
Reliable data is not only for technical requirement for policymakers, but also a strategic national asset that does enable government, the private sector, and the public to make informed decisions that do improve the lives of our own citizens.
The findings span key indicators that directly impact household welfare, including education, health, living standards, and access to basic services such as clean water, energy, and sanitation. According to the report, more than a quarter of Uganda's population faces multiple and overlapping deprivations that limit their ability to earn, learn, and live productive lives. Karamoja and West Nile sub-region stand out with higher concentrations of multidimensional poverty, reflecting long-standing challenges in infrastructure, service delivery, and economic opportunity.
About 53 in every 100 persons were multidimensionally poor and deprived in health insurance. That was closely followed by about 52 in every 100 persons who are multidimensionally poor and deprived in cooking fuel.
For many households, poverty is reflected in limited access to stable incomes, low agricultural productivity, poor access to markets, and inadequate social services, factors that continue to constrain economic participation and resilience. While unveiling the report, the State Minister for Planning, Amos Lugolobi, commended UBOS for providing credible and timely data, noting that while progress has been made, significant gaps remain.
I would call it 27 out of 100 persons. I think we don't seem to be doing very badly. Looking at a number of indicators, we are doing quite well. But of course, for the planners, we have a job to do, especially in terms of distribution of these various variables that have been used in these indicators.
The data is also seen as critical for parliamentary oversight and resource allocation to the most vulnerable communities.
You don't have the luxury to do trial and error. You have money to do everything. But when we know where to put in every coin, we can look for outputs from every coin that we spend as a country.
The MPI identifies not just who is poor, but how they are poor by measuring the extent and severity of deprivations affecting households. Dennis Igara for UBC.
President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has pledged 2 billion shillings towards the construction of the Church of Uganda Zimbalweza project, an initiative aimed at strengthening both the church and community development. The contribution was announced by the Vice President, retired Major Jessica Alupo, who represented the President, and the President applauded the church for its continued support in improving people's livelihood and contributing to national development. Let's hear more from Deborah Namamonde.
50 billion Ugandan shillings is needed to complete the Church of Uganda Zimbalweza project, which is expected to be transformed into a modern training and hospitality center. According to church, the project will not only serve religious purposes, but will support youth skilling, environmental conservation, and community empowerment, among others. With a target of raising 10 billion shillings every year, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni pledged 2 billion shillings.
Poverty in the homesteads is caused by subsistence farming, growing crops and rearing animals for food only, with no surplus to take to the market to earn money. Christians must be encouraged to take advantage of these government programs. By having each household engaged in an income-generating activity, we shall be able to achieve one of the goals of the NRM government of socio-economic transformation.
President Museveni, however, appreciated the church's role in sharpening communities and supporting development efforts across the country.
I am happy to observe the Lueza project is aiming at the construction of a modern facility that offers accommodation, space for conferences. The project will generate jobs and incomes for many people, especially the youth. Therefore, I want to thank the Church of Uganda and the other faith-based organizations for taking advantage of the good investment climate in Uganda.
The Archbishop of Church of Uganda, His Grace, Dr. Samuel Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, urged the church and the public to make good use of available resources to promote both spiritual and economic growth.
Now, with happenings with the East African Legislative Assembly, the speed at which the NRM party would have wished to take in as far as filling the two-party purported vacant slots at the East African Legislative Assembly might be slowed down, as the Attorney General entirely agrees with the affected members on when their term of office could come to an end. Let's hear more in this report.
A three-day NRM party process to fill the purported two vacant party slots at the East African Legislative Assembly yielded 38 nominated candidates pending approval of second caucus.
I'm ready to contest, and I've already started. I have a big support base from the members of the 11th Parliament.
However, Birugawa and others' ambitions might be halted as the matter has now moved away from Plot 13 on Cadon Roads to Parliamentary Avenue, wrapped into a legality suitcase.
It states that an elected member of the Assembly shall vacate his or her seat in the Assembly upon the happening of any of the following events: upon his or her election or nomination as a member of the National Assembly.
But Aneta Ntamongo's communication to the House points out a note from EALA Parliament, which she says gives her a go-ahead on this matter. Uganda's Attorney General Igara Kionuka switches the debate to the legal corner.
I tend to hold a different view of what an election is, because an election is not an event, it's a process. Like Honourable Member said, a member is a member elect, but you do not become a member of Parliament until you have completed certain activities. For example, we have the 11th Parliament sitting now. We have MPs elect who are not in the 11th Parliament. They cannot be called MPs until they are sworn in.
In fact, Krioa's interpretation is welcomed by fellow members of Parliament, including the Leader of Opposition, Joyce Senyonyi.
Right, Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, if you allow me to study this matter, render a written opinion, confer with the CTC at Arusha, and understand what the issue is from their perspective, then we can render the necessary guidance.
So I actually do concur with the Attorney General. Our colleagues, the two colleagues who are current members of EALA and have now been elected to the 12th Parliament, are not MPs yet.
At Plot 13 Cadon Road in Kampala, the parliamentary debate seems not to change anything as earlier processed.
Whatever interpretation was there in Parliament today by the Attorney General, by the Leader of Government Business, by the Right Honourable Speaker, does not affect our process. With us, we've simply reacted by saying, call for expression of interest, nominate them, be on standby.
Whether that was done in the era or following the law, I responded to a call.
According to the Attorney General, it would be wise to pause the process as he goes for more consultations, whether Speaker Aneta Ntamongo sounds unconvinced. In her communication, Aneta Ntamongo had set 12 April 2026 as polling date to fill the vacant slots, and therefore, whether this position still stands, time will tell. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
So there's no more doubt.
Well, thank you very much there, Robert Onyango. Now, Dr. Daniel Ruhweza, a senior lecturer at the School of Law, Makerere University, says the law and decisions made by the East African Legislative Assembly are binding on partner states, and honoring them is in interest of the East African Community Treaty.
Uganda is set to choose two representatives who will fill two slots at the Arusha's East African Legislative Assembly. These will replace Honorable Dennis Namara and Honorable James Kakoza, who recently won Uganda's parliamentary elections and set to be sworn in May this year. As UBC, we sought to understand the binding powers of the laws made by the East African Legislative Assembly on the partner states. Dr. Daniel Ruhweza is a senior lecturer at the School of Law, Makerere University. Ruhweza says the EALA-made laws take precedence over national laws in constituent countries.
Is it true that the EALA laws should take precedence before the national laws made in these respective countries?
If a state has agreed to comply with the treaty obligation. Now, in this case, if, for example, EALA has passed a law which is supposed to be implemented by all the nations, in the East African community, then you cannot use your own national law as an excuse for doing what? For refusing to comply. Why? Because the treaty has already placed a burden on you as a state party to proceed in that regard.
Rueza says East Africa Community partner states are obliged to comply on resolutions because they pertain to the implementation of the treaty.
Is it all rosy? Probably not, because for most of these obligations, sometimes the state may not be in position to immediately comply. But what we think is that you tend to see that there is a general consensus when the states parties meet, when they have their conventions, they seem to be moving in that direction. So,
to what extent are the decisions made there honored by these partner states? Because we have seen many instances whereby decisions are made and these partner states in this African community don't actually honor these decisions. To what extent is that?
It is relative. It depends on what specific issue is at hand. I would like to believe that there is a lot of inroads that have been made by the states parties to the treaty.
He says ongoing arrangements by Uganda to refill the 2 slots is a preparatory move since the swearing in of the 12th Parliament is fast approaching. However, says as it stands now, they still remain EALA MPs.
Probably they are, whereas it has not yet been declared vacant right now, because it happens once you've sworn in. Because if you haven't sworn in, then it's problematic.
Crispus Adinitwe reporting for UBC.
Now, the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, has marked 30 years of existence with a strong call for collective action to protect the environment amid growing pressure on natural resources.
Established under the National Environment Act of 1995, NEMA has made significant progress in environmental protection and sustainable development over the past 3 decades. The authority has strengthened environmental governance, enforced regulations, and handled numerous cases of environmental degradation across the country. As NEMA celebrates 3 decades of service, leaders are calling for stronger partnerships, stricter enforcement, and public awareness to ensure a sustainable future for Uganda's environment.
NEMA has consistently risen to this challenge. Now, World Bank and other development partners remain committed to supporting NEMA.
Among the achievements reached over the 30 years include integrating environmental impact assessments into investment decisions, automated regulatory processes overseeing the oil and gas sector, climate change initiatives, and biodiversity conservation.
Environment protection requires more than only commitment. It requires investment. And it requires empowered local governments, because local governments are the frontline defenders of our environment.
However, despite these achievements, there are challenges such as encroachment, pollution, and climate change that continue to hinder environmental protection efforts.
As we say, conservation without financing is only conversation. And conversation alone cannot deliver sustainability. Environment protection cannot succeed only on goodwill. We must dedicate resources to institutions, and we must sustain national commitment.
The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Water and Environment, Okoto Kidi, expressed concern over the rising rates of environmental degradation, attributing it to increasing climate change effects and human activities. He says the ministry is implementing strategies to restore degraded landscapes and strengthen climate adaptation measures.
NEMA has been at the forefront of environmental protection, conservation, promoting sustainable development, and ensuring wise use of the natural resources.
Prime Minister Robinah Nabbanja commended NEMA for its resilience in safeguarding and restoring the environment. Her message was delivered by the State Minister for Sports, Peter Ogwang.
I call upon all Ugandans to play their part, protect our wetlands, use our land sustainably, comply with environmental regulation.
The Prime Minister highlighted the increasing strain on ecosystems such as wetlands and urged coordinated efforts to address environmental degradation.
Let this milestone inspire us to act with urgency, unity, and purpose. Together, we can secure a greener, safer, and more resilient Uganda for the generations to come.
The milestone celebration of the National Environment Management Authority reflects on past achievements and further sets the stage for renewed commitment towards sustainable environment management for future generations.
The Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, PPDA, is seeking a 33.3 billion shillings as outlined in the Ministerial Policy Statement for the financial year 2026-2027. Now, appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, a team led by State Minister for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, revealed plans to implement a unit cost framework for roads and bridges construction to standardize unit prices.
Authorities from PPDA, led by State Minister for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, presented their ministerial policy statements for financial year 2026-2027, aiming to implement objectives including reservation schemes for women, youth, and persons with disabilities, and promoting local content.
Launch of the guidelines on the grain and grain products. The guideline is intended to control the quality of grain and grain products traded on the Ugandan market and the need to comply with the national standards.
PPDA plans to implement a unit cost framework for roads and bridges in the next financial year to standardize unit prices.
And this on unit cost framework for roads and bridges, consultative meetings were held among the Ministry of Works and other players, including Association of Contractors and Engineers, and this will help to guide the standard unit price for roads and bridges. Our role now in this coming financial year is to disseminate this, popularize it, and also train the users, but also as PPDA monitor compliance that this is working.
This framework will be essential in informing the costing of road and bridge infrastructure projects in Uganda to achieve value for money derived from public infrastructure projects.
The authority also highlighted challenges hindering its objectives.
Inadequate staffing, the approved structure is at 171 staff. At 286 staff, but currently we are filled up to 171. So we are missing 115 staff, and this is if we are to really monitor contracts, then we need to have adequate staff. We are planning to expand to different regions. Currently we are in 4 regions.
Committee members urged PPDA to sensitize the public on upcoming implementations.
But this information has to be disseminated to the lowest level possible.
Lydia Chomkama, Parliament.
Now, relatedly, Parliament has blocked a proposal to amend the Public Finance Amendment Act 2015 to provide the mandatory remittance of all monies collected on behalf of the government into a consolidated fund.
A section of government departments collects various monies through levies, licenses and fees, but retains the funds in accordance with the law. Buyamba County MP Javira Semwanga wants the narrative to change and has asked Parliament for a leeway to introduce the Public Finance Management Bill.
Today, however, we have allowed situations where many public entities
collect and spend large sums of money outside the consolidated fund, and their budgets are approved by ministers and their boards, but not Parliament. In a full sense of appropriation, Madam Speaker, this has created a parallel financial system outside the scrutiny of this House.
MP Semwanga seeks for all revenues collected by state corporations, public enterprises, statutory authorities and public entities to be deposited into the consolidated fund. Soroti City East MP Herbert Ariko seconded him.
Some of these agencies and institutions do come to this House and request us to appropriate to them. Now, if we are appropriating them, it presupposes that we are exercising the appropriation role in as far as the definition in the Public Finance Management Act. But if those resources have not actually gone to the consolidated fund, where do we therefore get the liberty to exercise our power of appropriation?
The House was cognizant of diluting the Constitution if the proposal is given a green light.
If members are saying they are entities which keep money under where there is no act of Parliament authorizing them to do that, that is absolutely illegal, and that entity should necessarily be brought to book. So if a person requires to retain money, it is this Parliament that can make a law which authorizes you to retain money under Article 153(2).
So because in that act we gave them authority to retain the money. So you cannot try to amend it effectually by amending public and then say all these other entities are also now affected. So if your intention is that no cooperation at all, then compile all those acts of Parliament, then amend each one of them or bring an omnibus.
The Minister of State for Trade, David Bahati, asked the movers of the intended legislation to seek for further consultations.
So that your idea does not just die or the motion collapses under its own weight as we speak. Can we go back?
Article 153(2) of the Constitution clarifies that revenues or monies paid into the consolidated fund do not include funds authorized by an Act of Parliament to be retained by a government department for defraying its expenses or paid into another fund for a specific purpose.
B, the Public Finance Management Act requires a comprehensive amendment. Comprehensive. This is just a small bit of it. The nays have it.
Daniel Mugoya, Gloria Guitabinji, UBC News.
And with that story, we're going to take a short break, just at 27 minutes past 8. We will return with our next segment. Stay with us.
Somuchara.
Yes, Daddy.
You know the children are going back to school and things are a bit tight. Huh? For now, why don't you take half of the fees to junior school, and for the school van contribution, we shall pay later. Huh?
Daddy, why don't we pay using MTN Momo, where we stand a chance of winning school fees for a whole year and more? By the way, you can also apply for a school fees loan, and also participating schools can win a school van.
That's right! Win school fees for a whole year and more. Get Momo goodies and a school van for participating schools. You can also apply for a school fees loan. Simply dial *165*80# or use the Momo app.
It's back, bigger and with more business opportunities. It's the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo, Poate 2026, Uganda's flagship tourism event. Poate 2026 will take place from the 21st to the 23rd of May 2026 at the Speak Resort Convention Center, Munyonyo, under the theme Wanderlust. It's your time to thrive. Yes, it's your time to tap into Uganda's renewed optimism and tourism growth. Tourism stakeholders, travel trade partners, and tourism enthusiasts will be part of the POATE 2026. Come and network with like-minded people and unlock new business opportunities. To participate, register at www.poate.co.ug. POATE 2026 is brought to you by Uganda Tourism Board and partners.
Welcome back into our next segment. Speaker of Parliament Neta Mong has told the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives to come up with a report on the content in their sophisticated drinks flooded on the Ugandan market, since most of them are a health threat to the public.
Kabiriti. This is called Sanyuka.
The Member of Parliament representing Kazo County, Dan Kimosho, has laid on table on floor of Parliament different types of drinks as evidence and raised a matter of national importance about the drinks flooding Ugandan market that are not regulated, although some bear the label of Uganda National Bureau of Standards. It's not certain they are certified.
Those cheeks swollen, and you think they are growing in size when they are being affected by some of these drinks
that are being displayed here, some of them are certified by UNBS.
Drugs are a danger to human life. Let's stop protecting, even if they have been verified. But these are a danger to human life, unless you're one of the beneficiaries.
MP Kimosho proposed that the products be subjected for checking in the government analytical laboratory, especially those that do not bear the UNBS mark.
We need to know the ingredients of these, because they make people behave indifferent. So UCC should limit the method and the way they advertise. Because when you advertise that when you take it, you can fly, that is a misleading, it's a misleading advert.
The Uganda Alcohol Association actually released a report that shows that out of the alcohol that is on the market, 40% is actually illicit alcohol, worth around 6 trillion.
The leader of opposition, Joe Senyonyi, told Parliament that there is a report that was introduced in a committee he used to chair in 2023 that exposed the corruption in UNBS and how they certify substandard products.
I wanted to emphasize the point that sometimes a product can have a UNBS certification, which is actually from UNBS. Forget those who forge those certifications, but some could be from UNBS, but then they don't meet the threshold due to the corruption that we discovered in UNBS.
Here in September, Honorable Muwoma moved a bill over this matter, and it's called the Food and Nutrition Bill. We among the seconders, I'm one, and we looked at so many of these products on the market, even what our children consume, and we have realized several gaps of the certifications. So,
Member of Parliament, Kasambia County, Kabanda David, said energy drinks should be included. MP Aru County, Komakech Christopher, said the content in the drinks needs to be assessed, while the Erute County MP Jonathan Oduru's concern was on the absence of a consumer protection law in Uganda.
Very fake energy drinks. Some of them, I don't want to mention their names, but they have very dangerous names. Sting.
A small bottle of 5 ml will have a content of 50% alcohol.
This problem is not only limited to drinks. In this country, I think here on the record of Parliament, government has been invited to look deeply into the issue of consumer protection.
State Minister for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, David Bahati, said they are addressing the problem of counterfeit goods and fake products and emphasized that as long as the product bears the UNBS mark, it has been checked and certified.
Coming up with consumer protection bill. But I also want to inform you that all these products, as long as the product has a sign of UNBS, it means that we have tested them, it has gone through the standards, it's okay. The problem which we are having is people get certification from the UNBS. Then when they reach the factory site, they go and do other things.
Now, as UNBS, you're supposed to continue doing surveillance to ensure that there is compliance to what you tested. So there is also a problem with UNBS.
I'm Nafka Farid and Gloria Gwitabinji at Parliament.
Now, leaders in Kakuto constituency, Choteda district, have raised concerns over the increasing number of people entering the country illegally, warning that the situation could lead to rising crime and insecurity in the area.
Village leaders led by Katerega Mark expressed fear over the growing number of people from neighboring countries such as Burundi and Tanzania entering Uganda through illegal routes.
Abantu abasaluukiriza ne bayita mu bumenyi bw'amateeka ne bakulosinga boda ne bajja ne bayingira eggombolola y'e Kakuuto. Tulaba nti mu maaso ebyokwerinda insecurity egenda kubanga ebeerawo nga y'amaanyi nnyo nga yeeyongera.
Chotera District Vice Chairperson Agnes Namusitwa, together with Lubega Kaka, said the introduction of the village register will help curb crime, improve local security, and provide accurate population data for better planning and service delivery.
Buli tuba ne register ku kyalo tumanya ani yayingidde eggulu. Yayingidde atya ate omuntu okumuyingiza mu register kitegeeza abayina ebimwogerako ne gyavudde bw'amateeka bugenda kendeera
kuba kituwa empeereza ennungi nga tumanya tulina abalimi ku kyalo Kibaale abenkana bwe bati yamba ne mu security okubeera nga tumanya abantu be tulina mu kitundu kyaffe. Tufunyemu complain mulimu abantu abajja nga tebamanyikiddwa wa gye bava.
Enegenda kubeera modo count mu ggwanga lyonna egenda okuyambako ne gavumenti okusobola okuteekera obulungi abantu.
The other leaders, including Salongo Ndaula Pasco of Kangabwa village, highlighted challenges such as lack of access to clean water. They said the available boreholes are overstretched due to the increasing population, forcing residents to resort to unsafe water sources shared with animals.
Tulina obuzibu bw'amazzi olw'ensonga nti amazzi ge tulina abantu baffe bagakima ku bidiba. Ate nga mu bidiba omwo tufuniramu endwadde.
Kyaffe ekyenkoni tulina bowa esenebwako abantu abali mu 15,000. Bowa eyo ebeera efo olw'abantu abagikozesa okuba nti bangi. Tusaba omubaka okufuna obuyambi okuva gy'oli.
Leaders also decried the lack of electricity in many villages, saying it has hindered development and service delivery in the area.
Kye tulina kye ky'amasannyalaze olw'ensonga nti amasannyalaze ge twafuna gonna gayita ku main ate nga n'abantu b'omu kyalo bandyetaaze amasannyalaze ago.
Kakuto constituency chairperson-elect Chintu Muzakiru noted that the majority of residents depend on agriculture but are affected by poor road networks which limit market access and expose farmers to exploitation by middlemen.
Kano gatuyamba abalimi baffe okuba nga batambulizaako ebyamaguzi byabwe kati basanga okusoomoozebwa kunene oba oliawo n'ebbeeyi abasuubuzi ne babagula bbeeyi ya mujabala olw'amakubo okuba nga tegasobola kwakisesinga ntambula z'abo abasuubula okubeera nga bayingira mu bitundu byaffe okubeera nga batuuka ku balimi n'abalimi bennyini okutambuza ebirime byabwe.
Meanwhile, district leaders encouraged village chairpersons to mobilize residents to participate in the upcoming LS1 elections and support the ruling National Resistance Movement, emphasizing its role in service delivery.
Tuyambe tulonda abantu abagenda okukwatagana obutereevu ne gavumenti nga tebagenda givuma buvumi kyokka nga ate baleeta PDM bwe tulya abavubuka bwe baganyulwa mu ssente z'abavubuka abakyala bwe baganyulwa mu myoga
nnyo okulaba nga LC zange 122 zonna nziwangula ng'abaziwangula bonna bava mu kibiina kyange kya NRM.
In response, Lubega Kaka pledged to address key challenges, including water shortages. He revealed that modern equipment has already been procured to rehabilitate and improve water sources in the area.
Zigankwatako nnyo kuba amazzi bwe bulamu. Mbadde nzize nga nkola projects ezikwatagana mu kusima nayikondo mu bitundu eby'enjawulo. Era natandise okulagiriza ebyuma eby'omulembe ebigenda okubeera nga bituyambako. Tugenda kuteeka mu buli butawuni bwe tulina nga tukozesa amazzi ga national water.
He further committed to boosting agriculture, the main economic activity in Kakuto, and advocating for the extension of electricity to underserved communities.
Ekikwatagana ku masannyalaze concern eri mu Uganda yonna era nkakasa ngenda kubeera in touch ne minisita waffe ow'ebyamasannyalaze kubeera nga mwana nnyo nsabe gavumenti twongere ssente zebateeka mu Ministry ya Agriculture abantu baffe tuwongere okuba traininga oba okubayigiriza okubeera nga balima n'ennima ey'omulembe.
Crispus Adinitwe, Jamil Sekaja, reporting for UBC.
Now, the upgrading of the Busia-Tororo Road and roads within Busia town has gained momentum after the contractor resumed work following a temporary halt due to the limited funding. Now, during an inspection exercise, State Minister for Works Musa Echweru, together with engineers from the ministry, assessed the progress of the project.
Busia town is widely known for its busy nature, largely due to its location at the Uganda-Kenya border. Despite the heavy cargo traffic, the Busia-Tororo Road has for a long time been in a poor state, negatively affecting the smooth transportation of goods. Residents have therefore been calling for a quicker government response.
This road has spent 4 years without completing it. And imagine the government had provided money. We don't know where is the problem.
Ekkubo lino lyandibadde eggazi okusinziira ku mutindo gwalyo ne Busia engeri gyebadde okulankulanamu okutuuka wansi waalyo we lyandibadde likomenkerezo banga wagaggayi.
However, these concerns are now being addressed as work has resumed on the 26-kilometer stretch funded by the government of Uganda.
We are going to work on all these roads that enter our customs points. Like in Busia, you are going to dual the road. The road will be widened and be made dual carriage.
The project is being undertaken by China Railway 18th Bureau Group Company Limited. During the inspection, State Minister for Works Musa Echweru acknowledged the earlier construction delays, explained causes, and appreciated the community for their patience.
It is of course true that the contractor should have finished about now, but there were some challenges at one point because it's government of Uganda funded. And because of our limited resource envelope sometimes competed for by many priorities, there was a delay in paying him, and at one point they had kind of gone slow. But I'm happy to report to the country that now the contractor is back in sight.
The minister appealed to communities along the road corridor to willingly provide land where necessary, assuring them that government compensation will follow as the work progresses.
So we want to pray to our people that they don't stop my contractors from doing the job. We enter a commitment with them that will pay you. And I'm very happy with the professional people. They have already assessed all those buildings that are supposed to be knocked down so that we can open the road to the level that we have done here. As a government, it is good to have a date with the governments because government is not going away.
The minister later inspected Nyagore and Ruboni bridges in Tororo, which had been damaged by flooding. At Namagumba, Budadli and Nalugugu along a 39-kilometer stretch known for frequent flooding during rainy seasons, the minister expressed satisfaction with the progress of works that began in January 2025 and are expected to be completed by January 2028. This project, a partnership between the government of Uganda and the African Development Bank, is estimated to cost over 120 billion shillings and will also include the establishment of a market to benefit local residents.
But today for me to come and see, even if the road has not yet been complete, so far what the contractor has done is extremely impressive.
Some residents commended the government for extending improved road infrastructure in the area. Minister Ichweru, together with ministry officials, remain in the eastern region assessing the progress of road construction and is expected to conclude the ministerial visit in Karamoja. Shaidat Nasaku, Andrew Sebira, UBC News.
So, Muchala.
Yes, Daddy.
You know the children are going back to school and things are a bit tight. Huh? For now, why don't you take half of the fees to junior school, and for the school van contribution, we shall pay later. Huh?
Daddy, why don't we pay using MTN Momo, where we stand a chance of winning school fees for a whole year and more? By the way, you can also apply for a school fees loan, and also participating schools can win a school van.
That's right! Win school fees for a whole year and more. Get Momo goodies and a school van for participating schools. You can also apply for a school fees loan. Simply dial *165*80# or use the Momo app.
Welcome back from that short break into the world of business as we start off with Uganda's oil. Uganda is on the brink of history with a fast drop of oil expected this 2026. Now, this implies that the country is preparing to join the League of Global Oil Producers. But beyond the headlines, what does this mean for Uganda's economy and, of course, its people and its position on the world stage?
After more than 2 decades of exploration, investment and preparation, Uganda's oil and gas sector is entering what experts describe as its most defining moment, the first oil. From the oil fields in Hoima to strategic infrastructure across the country, this milestone signals more than production, but transformation.
The refinery is advancing, as is the Kampala Storage Terminal out in Mpigi, Kabalega Industrial Park, and of course, why we are here today, the exploration of the Kasarani contract license area.
The oil sector is already creating jobs, building skills, and stimulating local industries. Figures from the Uganda National Oil Company show over 15,000 Ugandans employed, thousands trained, and billions of dollars in contracts awarded to local companies. This being a clear sign of growing national participation.
Ugandan companies and individuals have invested heavily in meeting the standards, in learning, training, and positioning themselves to participate in the sector. We take a responsibility as the National Oil Company to continue developing our projects.
Government strategy is focused on national content, ensuring that as much value as possible remains within Uganda. Projects like the refinery, storage terminals, and Kabalega Industrial Park are expected to deepen industrialization and reduce dependency on imported petroleum products.
These projects are meant to ensure that the country extracts the maximum amount of value from its resources, that it meets its energy security requirements, and that it remains sovereign in the decisions it makes about access to energy and in the progression of our industrial development as a country.
But with opportunity comes responsibility. Industry leaders emphasize strict adherence to global standards in safety, environmental protection, and operational excellence.
It's been an incredible journey and one that is going to achieve its conclusion at first oil, but it is the first phase in what's going to be a new chapter in Uganda's history of an oil and gas producing nation and a sector that is thriving and establishing the base for industrial development for the country.
It remains a historic moment, one that could redefine Uganda's economic future and its place on the global stage. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Thank you, Henry. And still in business, Africa's housing deficit remains in sharp focus with mounting pressure in countries like Uganda, where demand for affordable and planned housing continues to outstrip supply. Now, the president of Djibouti, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has presided over the groundbreaking of Salam City, the country's largest ever residential project, signaling a shift towards organized and inclusive urban development.
Funded by Salam Bank, the Salam City project adopts an interest-free Sharia complaint financing model, promoting borrowing and saving as investment rather than profit-driven lending. The model is expected to scale across African cities where the bank operates, expanding access to affordable housing for low and middle-income earners.
That saving and borrowing without interest is in Salam Bank. And I thank you for bringing that formula here.
While speaking at the launch of the Taunia Insurance Company, President Yoweri Museveni praised the approach for aligning with African traditional systems like Omukwato, noting that it reflects community-based lending practices that build shared wealth without interest.
Awatale magoba norechefe abawano enenkola simpya empya eri enkola eyobunyonyusi eyamagoba.
He added that the model is comparable to Uganda's parish development model, which promotes non-commercial lending, social cohesion, and productive investment. Implemented by Salam Real Estate, Salam City will deliver over 7,000 housing units within a self-contained community featuring schools, healthcare facilities, and commercial centers. President Guelleh described the project as a long-term investment in housing, employment, and national stability, aimed at expanding access to decent housing while driving economic growth. Up to 2,000 jobs are expected during peak construction, supported by energy-efficient and eco-friendly designs accessible to a wide income range. Urban planners say the model offers practical lessons for cities like Kampala facing rapid urbanization. For UBC News, I am Sudat Kaye.
Well, thank you very much, Sudat, for that detailed report. Now, Uganda has launched the Tobacco Industry Interference Index 2025, a report exposing how tobacco companies are influencing policy and weakening efforts to protect the public health. The report was unveiled in Kampala, raising concerns over gaps in enforcement and increased access to cigarettes, especially among young people.
The Ugandan National Health Consumers Organization says the index reveals continued interference by the tobacco industry in public health policies.
The Global Tobacco Industry Interference Index 2025 ranks Uganda 10th out of 100 countries with a score of 41, highlighting persistent vulnerabilities in transparency, conflict of interest prevention, and curbing industry interference.
The report shows that tobacco companies are using indirect methods, including policy engagement and strategic marketing, to influence decisions and promote smoking among the youth.
There is so much product engineering that the products look sexy, taste close to what we are used to because of the flavors. They use the flavors, you know, that we like in our ice cream and in our cakes. They shape the products like the other products that we are used to, like perfume, like lipstick, like the things that we use. They have also adapted to the new engineering, the new technology. So the tobacco products have become electronic, like the digital era.
Despite the Tobacco Control Act, cigarettes remain widely accessible, often sold in single sticks, making them cheap and easy to buy.
The law clearly indicates that it must be a packet to be bought, but somebody walks to a stall, buys a cigarette or two, and this has also led to a promotion. Yet the law envisaged that a packet would be expensive and therefore preventive enough for the youth to be involved in tobacco consumption.
Uganda continues to face a growing burden of tobacco-related illnesses, putting pressure on the healthcare system.
But also what we see in the results that we have are the influence of the tobacco industry to our legislators, bureaucrats, and we would like more transparency. We want information of what government is doing with the tobacco industry. This is extremely important, and we want this message to go out.
The report now shifts focus on implementation, with calls for stronger enforcement of laws.
Since it was passed, little awareness has been created. If you go to the countryside, people still smoke in public, people still promote and market tobacco and tobacco products. So we are calling upon all stakeholders, the police.
For UBC News, I am Sudat Kaye.
Still in business, Uganda has taken a major step towards strengthening its private sector with the launch of a new business development service known as BDS standards, alongside with the formation of National Association for BDS providers.
At a time when Uganda is targeting a $5 billion economy, government says supporting MSMEs is no longer optional. MSMEs contribute up to 75% of Uganda's GDP, accounting for more than 90% of the private sector. Yet, despite their importance, many businesses struggle to survive beyond their early years.
So we have done markets for the small and medium enterprises. We have African Continental Free Trade Area. We have secured preferential markets in Europe and China. But the point is, these small and medium enterprises are not doing enough to generate enough production to supply these markets. So it's a challenge to you now. It's no longer a challenge to government because we have secured markets for you. So for us to address these challenges that the medium enterprises are facing, for example, we have set up UDB and capitalized it.
The newly launched BDS standards are expected to bring order, professionalism and quality assurance to a sector that has long been fragmented and largely informal.
We want to promote membership to the BDS Association to enhance collaboration and professional growth, establish certification and accreditation systems to ensure quality assurance and credibility, strengthen M&E and learning systems, including data sharing across all stakeholders.
At the same event, government announced the establishment of a National BDS Providers Association designed to unite service providers, enhance coordination, and promote continuous professional development.
So we want to begin recognizing them as professionals, the way accountants are being recognized as a professionals, engineers, lawyers, something like that. So to us, the BDA service providers span across the different domains of the sector. So as a ministry, we felt this is one win that we really need to embrace for the BDS ecosystem. Second, getting travel standards in place.
Development partners have welcomed the move, noting that a strong and coordinated BDS ecosystem is critical for enterprise growth, especially in agriculture, trade and innovation sectors. Government is calling on local governments and private sector actors to integrate BDS into their programs.
What next after here? So we feel that the biggest part of the job starts today, that we have to enable the BDS association to now function, support the continuous professional development of BDS providers, support their certification, the accreditation, the development of the tools, and delivery of the BDS to the MSMEs.
Mary Namkose, UBC News.
Now, leaders from the Greater Bushenyi district, including members of parliament-elect from Shema, Buhweju, Rubirizi and Mitoma, have raised concerns over the 2-week closure of the Igara tea factory, calling on government to intervene. The shutdown follows financial and governance challenges, including unpaid dues of over 6 billion shillings to farmers and over 600 million to workers. Speaking at the annual general meeting of the Igara Buhweju Tea Farmers Sacco in Chamahunga, Honorable Adrian Mwebesa said the closure has affected farmers and government revenue, urging prompt government action. Adrian Mwebesa, the woman member of parliament-elect Shema district, says the closure of the factory has not only affected farmers but the government as well, because the facility pays taxes, calling upon government to intervene and save the situation. The National Chairperson Women Council, who doubles as the SACCO Chairperson Board of Directors, Adrian Kosinja, says as leaders from districts benefiting from tea, they will work together to ensure the factory reopens. However, the Buhweju West Member of Parliament-elect Honorable John Bosco Karisa says much as they are working together calling upon the government to intervene, there should also be an audit on how this facility, which has been operating, has accumulated all these financial challenges, while other factories operating under private ownership are still doing well.
That have affected us. You know that Igara Growers Tea Factory, it is the factory that gave birth to this circle, Igara West Tea Farmers Circle. You know the situation now under Igara. Igara Tea Factory is temporarily on closure because of tea-related challenges, ranging from multiple factors, market, governance, all sorts of issues. And this has made our factory be at standstill for some time. Really, it has affected us. I can't lie myself, it has affected us, because I know if we never got this challenge, IGABU would report a surplus of 2 billion. Making 1 billion and making provisions because of tea-related issues, because defaulters were many due to this challenge.
And in our sports roundup, as we look at what's making headlines in the world of sports, Uganda Pool Association goes into the polls while boxing action is lined up. Ngabo Emon reports.
In local pool, Robert Kayanja alongside his runmate Okwere Paul have officially joined the race for leadership of the National Pool Governing Body after picking nomination forms from the Electoral Committee. The duo have pledged to promote sports in schools, empower the youth and strengthen transparency within the federation.
pool is not so much as a physical game. This is a sport you can play for so long, even if you're 80. It keeps your backbone really stretching and well good. It keeps your stamina well. So it's a healthy game. Secondly, financially, it benefits people, because if you look at the pool table, pool tables. This is a financial business. This is a business.
In football, the Stanbic Uganda Cup quarter-final fixtures have been confirmed, with matches set to be played between April 1st and 6th, 2026. The draw has produced exciting ties, with URA taking on KCC AFC, reigning champions Kitara FC hosting Express FC, NEC FC facing Vipers at Lugogo, and first-time quarter-finalists Happy Boys Kagaba up against AC Villa. All matches will be played in single knockout format, with extra time and penalties to decide winners if necessary.
It shows you that sports continues to have a huge impact on not just the brand visibility and the equity of our country, but also promoting talent, creating employment, and entertaining Ugandans. So we're very, very proud of that.
Meanwhile, the National Intermediate Boxing Championships are heading into the finals, with standout bouts including Mujisha Norman against Bule Ashraf, Kasozi Aksam facing Kamoga Imran, and Fubia Jonathan taking on Vubia Gideon. As fighters look on to claim top honors, we await to see who will be crowned champion.
Basically, the boxers are really playing well. So we are really scouting out for new talent. And I'm very sure that the boxers that are coming in National Open and Champions League are going to be the best.
On the international scene, focus turns to the 2026 FIFA World Cup preparations as European teams enter crucial playoffs, with Italy aiming to avoid another setback and keep players facing late fitness tests. Ngabo Amon, reporting for UBS TV.
And lastly, Uganda Rowing has launched a new talent identification initiative in partnership with the North Green School, marking the beginning of a structured long-term pathway to grow rowing from grassroots.
What I've enjoyed about this experience is the opportunity to get to learn a new sport and the ability to learn that there are many other sports and opportunities that can come out of rowing. The major difficulties I've found so far is just adapting to the new sport, because it's different from what I'm used to, and getting enough time to train properly.
Why we chose rowing as a sport is that it's a niche sport. Not very many people are involved in it, and also it gives us different opportunities around the world. For example, most of the children can get scholarships. Most of the children can also represent their country. And that is one of the ultimate things we look at the North Green School. Keeping in mind that the children who come to the North Green School are shown to a lot of things.
Doing a talent ID program with the North Green School. And what we've done here is, as a national coach, I am leading the way in our sport to develop a national talent ID framework. So up until now, we haven't had a framework that we're working with. So we're going, we're creating this framework that we'll use to multiply, okay, as a multiplier effect, so that we can go to different schools and different clubs and identify talent that from the grassroots that we can start growing with into the national program.
Well, that's all we had time for at 8, and of course we will meet again at 10. My name is Patricia Lukoma Mpango. Stay with us.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Tinkare mokudong ma atieka supply total energy with the Mshungwa under project magilongo MSL uloko kwapa family para uloko kwapa community matieka Kenya.
Before Total came into the picture, we used to get on average 1.8 to 2.5 per week.
When Total came into the picture, we're now getting about 7.6 to 8 million per week. You see this grass we use for mulching. We buy a bundle at 1,000 shillings, and we need more than 2,000 bundles. All that money is sunk within the village. They're using it for paying school fees, they're meeting their medical bills. I employ a big number of people, about 50 to 80 per season.
We got projects from MSM in 2024. That's where we start supplying Total or the MSL with Munyeba.
Erano kerna pe michol betu twali gangkwan gipoke wasiene monini si anshi acholo kila tikwana uchakolo ko pa an matera dida.
The journey with Total, it was so quite good because at least they were helping us to give us a good market whereby we supply at least weekly, like 3 times twice a week. We expand this farm now to 20 acres, and at least I've managed to open another project where I'm doing ranching businesses of cows, and this money has helped me. I put up the shop. During peak, I always employ 100 people to 120 people. A month I'm supplying Total about 12,000 pieces of watermelon. Then tomatoes, I'm supplying about 10,000 kilograms of tomatoes. Also this other local market, I'm also supplying them.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Qualified, professional, and compassionate doctors talking real solutions to real health problems.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are so honored again to be in your living rooms this Thursday evening. Dr. Joseph Gavin Nyanzi, your host tonight on our week's favorite show, the Doc Talk Show.